Welcome to another episode of DIOTALK. I'm Dio, and let's talk. My guest today is an inspiring person. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Sunny Prasad.
Thank you, Dio. It's nice to be on your podcast. And
Thank you. It's an honor to have you,
man. Yeah.
How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I just came back from jiu-jitsu. Just kind of winding down right now. And sometimes I like chatting when we're kind of in a more calm state than in a very kind of hyped up state.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for being on the show, man. I know we've been talking about this for quite some time, and you're finally here. I do appreciate it. It's an honor to have you on the show. And how the hell you been, man? How's jiu-jitsu? How's life? What's going on? What do you got?
Man.
What do you got on your agenda?
Yeah. Great, man. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's always good to kind of, like we were talking about before we started recording too. Sometimes we'll have conversation with friends, we're like, "Whoa, that was such a great conversation. That was such an inspiring conversation.
Yes,
it should have been a podcast, right?" So I think I just love, just chit chatting, getting to know someone, and recording it, and then hopefully it can help some people out, right? Maybe inspire them or uplift them. So that's great. But how have I been? I've been good, man. I honestly, after last year with the whole pandemic and everything, it's nice to kind of get the feel of okay, things getting back to normal.
Yes.
And you and I met at our jiu-jitsu academy.
Pro Sal, what's up?
Yeah, Pro Sal, and it's I've been wanting to get back. I trained some jiu-jitsu and other martial arts and stuff back in the day, and I've been wanting to get back into it. And that was my big plan for 2020 is get back into jiu-jitsu. And lo and behold, the whole pandemic and everything. So it's nice to get back into it now. But I don't know if I told you. I don't know if we talked about it, but I was in Miami for 2 years. I lived there from 2018 to 2020.
You mentioned it before. How was that experience?
Yeah. So it was good, but it was different than what I expected in some ways. I grew up in New York, New Jersey area for the most part, and I remember I grew up in Jersey, but I don't know if you ever had this thing where growing up in Jersey, you always want to get out of Jersey for some reason, right?
Yes.
It's you're always as soon as I get out of college or something, I want to move to another state,
explore life.
Exactly. I kind of felt the same. Most of my life was in the Northeast, and I just wanted to kind of get away when I was in my late teens, early 20s and stuff. And as soon as I got an opportunity, I actually ended up moving to Philly first. I lived there for a couple of years. And then I ended up moving to New York City and lived in the city for 5 years.
Got it.
But anyway, so what happened is,
don't tell me you fell in love and you moved over
there. No. So what happened to me is that I don't like the winter, the cold.
Oh, dude, I hate it.
I just I like warm weather and everything. It just makes me motivated. I feel better when the weather is nice, when the sun's out. So just brutal winters. And I used to go to Miami a lot because I had a couple of my friends that used to live in New York. They ended up moving there, so I would go visit them pretty often. And I was also just working from home remotely, and I figured, hey, let me give it a shot. Let's see if I want to live in Miami and move out there. So I ended up making the move finally in 2018. And then once I moved there, the first 6 months was amazing. It's the honeymoon period where I'm on the beach hanging out,
living the dream
from the beach. Yeah, it's living the dream. The stuff that you see on Instagram, right? Mm-hmm. Living the dream. But after a while, it's not what you think it would be. It just never really felt like home to me. Culturally, it's very different living down south. Also, I have all my friends and family here in New York, New Jersey area. So I missed a lot of my family and friends, and just overall, I'm I just don't see myself living here long term. It's nice to come back, maybe spend some time during the winters, but I'm just not going to be based out of here. So I finally made funny thing is I was planning on moving back. My original plan was my lease was ending in March of 2020.
Yeah.
I said, okay, April, I'm going to move back to New Jersey, New York area. And then the pandemic happens, and all of a sudden I'm oh shit, I'm stuck here. So I stayed around for like a few more
Yeah.
months, trying to see how things unfold. But like towards the end of 2019, or no, so like yeah, so we're in 2021, right? Keep
Yeah,
lose
man.
track of time, man. Yeah,
It's kind of foggy memory because we 2020 was just like not
yeah,
a
it
good
didn't
year for any of us.
exactly. You could always like subtract 1 year from your
Yeah.
age, by the way, because 2020 doesn't even count.
Yeah. So
Uh,
my 31 did not happen. I'm still
it did
30.
not happen. You're still 30. There you go.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, so I ended up coming back, and towards the end of 2020. So yeah, it's. I think life's been good now. Being back here, being closer to family, friends, and getting back training jujitsu and like focusing on
Yes,
my health and
yes.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah, man. It's you got the blues,
I
right?
did. I actually get the winter blues anyways. Like,
Yeah,
I think
winter sucks, man.
yeah,
It's very
yeah,
unmotivating. Uh,
yeah.
it, man, I grew up in the Caribbean in Puerto Rico, so
Nice.
when it comes to winter, I just try to make the best of it, man. Honestly, now that I got a son, maybe go outside, build a snowman, I'll do stuff like that. But I am a Caribbean dude. I detest the
You,
cold.
you like, yeah,
Yeah,
you like the chill kind of, nice sunny days
yeah,
and beaches and
yeah,
everything. Yeah,
yeah. Not all that because
right.
I just like to chill. I like to
Yeah,
relax. I as I gotten older and just as you get older, you know yourself better, right? So I
yeah,
realize I'm an apt up person. I'm ready to go. And
do
I
you,
need to, in order for me to progress and think and evolve as a
right.
person, I need to have some type of uh common ground where I can just be laid back, you know?
Yeah. So you feel like you like more laid back environments and where
Yes,
it's like
yes,
not too many stimulations and stuff going on, right?
yes, man.
Yeah.
I on Father's Day, my wife took me to surf, I think Surf Beach or something in downtown
Yeah.
Jersey City.
Yeah. I actually live Surf City, right?
Yeah, Surf City. There you
Dude,
go.
so I literally live like 5 minutes walking distance from Surf City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. She took
Yeah.
me there, man, and it's been like it's one thing I detest going to crowded places, man. I grew up in an environment that either a shooting was about to break out or a fight, something gruesome and violent was going to happen. So when I find myself confined in these large gatherings, right? I
Yeah.
get, my I start sweating, my pressure starts going up. I get very
Hmm.
uncomfortable and I get in a bad mood. I get in a bad mood, especially I'm there with my wife and my son.
Yeah.
You know, I try to avoid those environments just because I want to see the trauma of years growing up in that environment. I just
Yeah.
I can't do it to myself. It's like
Yeah.
having the Hulk in a inside a train under NYC. You know,
Yeah.
um, and that's one of the reasons I joined jujitsu to try to calm myself. Mental strength, physical breathing, and all that. Because
Right.
it's when you're grappling and you're under somebody, it's chaos. It's
Yeah.
so it helps me, and it's crazy, right? It helps me just tame my I guess the animal inside me, right?
Yeah. Well, so don't you like you do you think being in those environments kind of helped you be able to also like I feel like when you grow up in an environment where it's dangerous and it's kind of violent, like yeah, sometimes you could feel anxious,
Mm,
but also I feel like you could also take pressure better and you
mm.
could still remain calm under a lot of pressure just because it's like kind of like normal to you, right?
Yeah,
Versus someone who grew up in like a very nice suburb and never really had to like worry about walking down the street or whatever. Like if they go into a certain neighborhood or whatnot and it's a little sketchy, they'll like immediately like
yeah.
start freaking out, right?
Yeah,
And
I
right,
got like almost like a 6 or 7 cents and where I'm
Well,
able
yeah,
to like it's crazy. I'm very able to read the environment or maybe
yeah,
predict something's about to happen. So I gotta move.
yeah,
It's a lot of pros and cons, man. It's a lot of pros
yeah.
and cons
But just,
because
just like anything, right, Theo? Like, there's no such thing as like this thing is 100% good or this thing's 100% bad, right? Everything comes with its pros and cons.
yeah,
So, like
correct.
just like growing up in a rough neighborhood has its pros and cons. Growing up in a great neighborhood that just was very safe has its pros and cons too.
Yeah. I think my biggest uh I want to say con is as being in these such environments, like it's difficult for me sometimes to be sociable,
Hmm.
like I think for me that's difficult,
Yeah.
because growing up in such, like me, like I'm Puerto Rican, right? If
Right.
you know Puerto Rican, like a Puerto Rican who just
Hmm.
got it straight off the island, you
Yeah.
know, and he's in his like early 20s, maybe teens, he's hot.
Hmm.
And even if you're looking at him wrong,
Yeah.
and not even if you look at him and you just,
Hmm.
look to the other side, he's
Yeah.
already, that person's already feeling, why you look at me wrong? It's so
Yeah.
tense, the heat.
Yeah.
The heat
Yeah.
drives us crazy as people, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, that's me, man. I'm built like a fucking tank. And I'm short, but I'm built like a fucking tank. But it's has made it difficult for me throughout the years be a little bit more sociable because I'm always looking somebody sideways. Like
Yeah.
my like it's that saying, I carry my heart on my sleeve. Like
Yeah.
I don't disguise who I am. I'm always who I am, everywhere I
Right.
walk. So
Which also has its pros and cons, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
right.
yes,
But it does have a lot of pros. Like, we kind of, right before we started recording, one thing that we were talking about is that in the kind of world that we live in today, there we it's like that rawness and that authenticity
yes,
is missing, right?
yes, yes.
And I think social media has ruined that even more, because now everyone wants to just look good. They want to show themselves as like having a great time
Preach,
and they're always
preach.
happy, right? Exactly. And then what I think most people connect with is, people don't connect with someone who acts like, oh, they're perfect and they're having a great time. But what people connect with is just knowing your flaws and maybe how you overcame them, and things that aren't perfect about you, because we can all relate to that. None of us are perfect.
Mhm.
Um, so I remember, because this kind of is close to my heart in so many ways, because when I was growing up, I always felt like I wanted to travel a lot. I wanted to read a ton of books. I wanted to, go to this seminar or do this and do all this stuff, right? Like, I was such a doer. Like, I need to do this and this and this. I remember, like, even when I was in college, I took a semester off. I like backpacked around Central Asia, Central America, and then
Yeah.
also, like, I was just burning through books. I read like so many books. But then one time I had this epiphany. I actually, so speaking of, I went to this. Some people might know Tony Robbins. He's like a
Yes, yes.
inspirational, motivational, kind of
Dope,
like
dope.
life coach, or whatever you want to call him. But I went to one of his seminars a few years ago, and a lot of it was just kind of introspection and kind of looking at why you do what you do, because we all have motive behind what we're doing.
Yes.
We may or may not know it, but a lot of it is also conditioned into us. So we're doing subconsciously. So I remember, like, having this epiphany there, that a lot of the, my early 20s of like travel and, go to this restaurant or this club or whatever, was, I thought it was driven from like, oh, Sonny's adventurous, he's fun, he wants to do this. But part of it was definitely driven from feeling that I wasn't good enough. So I needed to do all this stuff, right? To actually feel like, okay, now I'm good enough. Like, I needed to be the most traveled person. I needed to be the most read person. I needed to be the smartest or the strongest or whatever.
Yeah.
But that need was coming from a
Did
lack of
you did
maybe,
you like I don't mean to interrupt you, but did you
right, yeah.
realize like less was more?
Definitely. Definitely less was more. But it's also like, it's like I was doing all this stuff and I was completely like unaware. And not to say that it's not like it's always good to travel, read and all that stuff, but it's also where it's coming from, right? Where is that need coming from? Anything that looks positive can be negative if it's coming from the wrong place, right? If you want to actually be really healthy, but you want to be healthy just because you want to feel good and you want to have energy or whatnot, that's good. But if you just want to be really healthy because you have low self-esteem, let's just say, and you want to look the best you can, then it's not coming from a right place. So I feel like some of the things that I did in my earlier years definitely came from a place of like not feeling like I was good enough. And like maybe, I needed to like do more and be more and stuff like that. But also another thing that happened in that seminar too is like a lot of people, they kind of share some of the struggles that they're going through. And Tony does this, what he calls interventions, where he'll be kind of like trying to shift their perception and everything, right? So a lot of people would talk about some of their problems and some of the things they're struggling with. And a lot of those things are just so universal. Like we all feel stuff, very similar stuff. And we would all connect with that person when they would get up and talk about their challenges and struggles. And we just really like, I saw like everyone in the crowd like really connecting with them.
But isn't it like, I think I mentioned this with Isaiah. I had him on the podcast, right? Like, isn't it weird that we as human beings, we're so connected, like we're so similar in everything in life, and struggles and emotions and relationships and et cetera, but yet we're still so disconnected. Like isn't it weird?
Right. But I it is weird, but I think what happens is we're connected, that when someone is actually being raw and real, we can feel that connection, right? As human beings, we're going to connect unless we have like really blocks and stuff. But, generally human beings will connect. But I think the reason why we're disconnected today is because the realness is missing, right? So everything is just so fake. And it's just gotten worse and worse. So I think the reason why we're disconnected is because there isn't that, rawness anymore. Like if you think about us, whether when we were hunters and gatherers and we lived in a tribe, or even some societies that live in like more tribal village kind of society, everyone knows everyone. There's no showing off and stuff. And, some of them, right?
Yeah.
And like people know each other. So there is definitely that level of connection. But when you get into like a bigger city where people don't know each other and whatever we know about each other is not, really deep stuff or like who you are at the core, then there is definitely that element of like disconnect.
Yeah. Do you think like self-validation is a big issue? Just piggying back on what you're saying, right? Is like people nowadays feel like they need to be validated.
Right.
They need that so you can like them or you can appreciate them, right?
Why do you think that is, dear? Why do you think people want to be validated so much?
I can't answer that question because I don't give a fuck if people like me or not. I just
of course.
I don't I don't think about that. Now I have trouble like if I see somebody I connect with and like, yo, I think this guy is cool. I think he's awesome. I'm like, I'm like a kid in a candy shop. I don't because it rarely happens to me, and I find myself sometimes doing more than what I should be. And I have to catch myself and take a step back. Like, ooh, what am I doing? I have trouble with that because it's so difficult for me to connect with people sometimes just because of I'm so blunt and raw.
Yeah.
Right. I have like my biggest problem in my marriage is I'm too blunt and jobs and family relationships and friendship. I'm just too raw, and I I don't know how to disguise that. And when I disguise it, I'm always feel like I'm letting myself down. Because as I'm being raw, I'm telling you how it is. I'm not disrespecting you. I'm not trying to get, in a physical argument or altercation, but I'm being true for who I am. I like who I am, but yes, I feel like people they want them to like, yes, approval to make them feel like doing something, right? Make them feel important.
Yeah. Well, you know what's great about like being the guy who wears like his heart on his sleeve and everything is that you probably have whatever relationships that you have with your friends and stuff. It is probably very deep relationships, right? You probably is that right? Like you probably have deeper relationships,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Right. So it's like some people would have this breadth of relationships. Like a lot, they might know a lot of people and have a lot of friends and a lot of acquaintances and all that stuff.
Yes.
There is no depth to it because they're always faking and like being someone else they're not. They're always being diplomatic in situations and stuff like that, right? Where I can relate with you too, because I always like I've felt this way forever, like ever since I could remember that I didn't really connect with most people either because I always had this kind of like I was always a depth junkie to a point, and I never really liked simplistic things. Like I'm a very nuanced guy. Like when I look at something, I don't look at it as like good or bad or right or wrong. I look at like things very deeply.
To different views.
Yeah.
You gotta. Yeah.
That was so that's why I couldn't connect with a lot of people because I don't even really like small talking. Like I don't really like I can do it if I need to, but just being like, hey, how's your day going? The weather is blah blah blah. It's like it's just too shallow. I'm like, let's talk about something meaningful. Yeah.
Too proper.
Yeah.
It's
I'm also not a formal guy. Like I don't like formalities too. A level of it is fine, but it's like I don't like the trim, proper, formal. It's like it's so fake. It just doesn't.
Yeah. I totally get it. Sometimes I try to be very formal and have these short conversations. Sometimes I find myself saying too much because it's just it's so boring,
Right.
And nowadays is it's been proven time after time is who you know. So who you know and what it's not what you know, it's who you know is going to get you to saying A, B, C and get you anywhere in life. That's what pop culture is. Back in the day, it used to be back in the day, you could literally count people's fame, either music or movies and TV shows, right? It was those basic three things. Now it's Instagram famous, YouTube famous, TikTok famous, Facebook famous, all these levels of fame, which is just suck balls, right?
Yeah.
And it's not real. That goes back to your point of view. Like when you were in Miami, it's like, it's like you had this vision, what's it gonna be, but now you're there. It's like this sucks balls.
Right, exactly. It's like, if you were to see me on my Instagram or whatever, and I can showcase myself as like, oh, I'm living your life, like I'm right on the beach, look at my, my drink on the beach, I'm working from here, all that stuff. But it's like, not really. Like I also was like, I miss my friends, I miss my family, I want to be back home. This doesn't feel like home.
Which is reality. Which is
reality. Yeah. I also had this. I remember one time I was traveling in Southeast Asia, and this one morning I was in Malaysia, and I woke up and like I had gone out the night before, and I was really hungover, and I felt kind of sick, and I just felt really bad. And I remember posting on my Facebook like the night before that I'm in Malaysia and all that stuff. And I remember like just scrolling through where people are like, "Oh my God, you're living the life." I'm like, "No, I'm not. You don't understand. Like, I want to throw up right now." And this whole idea that everyone's living the life, but it's not true. Like we have good times and bad times. Like even if you're traveling, part of it might be great, part of it might not be.
Yeah, you can
you might be hungover, right?
You go on vacation, and like when I've gone on vacation with my family, I feel like I've done more on my vacation. It's so tiring than what I'm on my regular life.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. I mean, traveling it's good, man. Seeing if you have a thirst for knowledge and just want to see the world, You know, other people sometimes just travel the fucking world because they're seeking something and looking for something.
Right.
And when they come to see, it's right there where it's been all this time.
Exactly. So going back to people seeking validation, the reason why I think people seek validation is because they're not content with who they are, right? They're not happy with themselves. They don't like themselves. That's why you constantly want validation from other people or whatever, right? And I think it also happens because you cannot have enough of what you don't need in your life. So you can try to accumulate all the toys in the world. You could buy the best car, the best house, travel to the most places, earn the most money or whatever. But that's not really what's going to fulfill you. I mean, that's good. It's good for survival, but it's not really going to fulfill you. So I think we just live in a world more than ever, probably in today's world, where people aren't really fulfilled. And that's why they're seeking constant validation.
Yeah. Yes.
And I feel like even like when, like my last couple of years of my life, I haven't really traveled as much. Now I still love traveling, but I also felt like I didn't need to have this thing where I always need to travel, or I don't need to be addicted to traveling. I don't want to be addicted to even like reading a book, or for that sake, I don't even want to be addicted to personal development, right? And because I've seen that happening too, because I've been in this world of like self-improvement and personal development for a long time, maybe like 15, 16 years of my life. And I've seen people who are constantly, it's almost like a drug, right? They want the next hit. Like, I want to go to the next seminar. I want to, read the next book. And like, it's an addiction. It's like, can you just like let go of everything and sit down with yourself in peace and just not having to need anything?
Yes. I think I went through that same thing you're describing like 2-3 years ago. That same thing. And I luckily I realized it early, because it's exactly what you're explaining right now, that addiction. And I just want to, every day that goes by, I just want to progress a little bit more, be a little bit better person, better husband, better father, better friend for the family member, whatever. Just not so involved, and because when you're like self-help, personal development, you're self-involved. You forget about the world and your surroundings. You're so self-involved. The only you matters,
right?
And that it's a good thing sometimes, but sometimes it's you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your possibility, you're hurting your surroundings and your progress.
For sure. And I think part of it is also like there are definitely phases. Like, you want to go through a phase when you want to really immerse yourself into like bettering yourself and learning about yourself and like all that stuff, right? But there should also be a phase when you can just sit down and chill out and not have to like be able, like, wanting to do all that stuff. Because even if you think about like self-help and personal development, inherently that also kind of communicates to you or sub-communicates to you that you're not good enough in some ways, very subtle way. So if it's like self-help, that means I'm not good where I am. I need to be better, right? So that's not a good sub-communication sometimes. And then I think life is also a dance between self-improvement and self-acceptance, like accepting who you are, where you are, whatever you feel, right? And then also bettering yourself. So it's that, kind of like a dance, and you got to balance those.
Yeah, it's that yin and yang. It's balance. Right. With me, it's more like I'm not doing enough. Like, I found myself, I want to say a year, 2 years ago, and where like I was training to run this marathon, right? And I was in that self-development, self-improvement stage. And it wasn't long, it wasn't like I was doubting myself. It was more along as like I'm not doing enough. So I'm training for this marathon, and Monday comes, I did 3 miles. Tuesday comes, I did 3 miles. Wednesday comes, I forced myself to get some rest. And I'm not like, I'm driving, I'm pacing back and forth in my house. I'm exhausted, but my mind is like, I'm not doing enough. And I got through the day. right? Thursday comes, I go run 4 miles now. Friday comes, I do the same thing. Comes Saturday, I'm like, I gotta do more. I gotta do more. I gotta do more. I ran 6 miles on Saturday, and when I got home, like, I was deteriorated. I stood in bed for like a month, almost died, pushing myself so much,
Yeah.
and not be able to find a balance in it. And after that experience, I had to take a step back, right?
Yeah.
Because people say you should never take setbacks, but you should,
Hmm.
because if you don't take a step back, you can't see your view. And the
Right.
most important thing in life is knowing what is in front of you.
Right.
Because we can continue to move forward, move forward, move forward, move forward, but sometimes we're just going through the motions. It's like you're
Hmm.
working a 9 to 5, you're unhappy at this shit, and it's 9 to 5, but yet you have done nothing to do anything outside and create something to develop it and leave it. So Monday comes, you sluggish, wake up, brush your teeth, take a shower, drink your coffee, get dressed, work, the same thing, come home, take a shower, eat something, go to sleep, in the same momentum every fucking day. And the next thing you know, you're stuck in this fucking rhythm. And little do you know, 20 years has passed of your
Yeah.
life. Now you're
Yeah.
in your 40s, fucking overweight. And when you realize that your health has deteriorated, because
Hmm.
let's face it, if you live in New Jersey, New York,
Hmm.
the time here is different than if you go to Florida or Miami. We
Hmm.
run 24/7. So when
Yeah.
you're stuck sometimes in a 16-hour shift, you're trying to
Hmm.
come home and eat the first thing you see. What's the first thing? Fast food. You're trying to demolish that shit. You go to
Right.
sleep for 8 hours, get up, do the same thing again, and you're away and you're unhealthy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. I think that is like the most scariest thing. Like if I have like one fear in my life, I mean, like one of my biggest fears, I would say, is losing my drive, right? And I've seen a lot of people who just like work, come home, watch TV, maybe have a beer or two, go to sleep, and repeat that over and over again. And it just like creeps up on you. Next thing you know, it's like 5 years later, you're overweight, you have health problems, and I've seen that happen. Like, one of the reasons why I really got into health and fitness and stuff, Dio, is because my dad, I've seen him like really deteriorate his health, and he was a functioning alcoholic, and just like watching him, like that was from my late teens to like throughout most of my 20s. I saw him like really, mess up his health and a lot of stuff like that. And one thing leads to another, right? It's not just when you're getting unhealthy, it's not just your health, but your finances are going to suffer, your relationships are going to suffer, because
Yes.
everything is connected in so many ways. So, my dad had a lot of like health issues because of his lifestyle, mainly because of that, which led to other stuff. And like watching him, like when I was younger, he was a role model for me in certain ways. Like he was just a very kind of life of the party kind of guy, enjoyed drinking and partying and just meeting people. And also just like, he was a big kind of guy too, like just, naturally he was big and stuff like that. So, just like the man of the house and all that stuff that I always liked. But then watching like the most powerful man in my vision at the time as a young kid, and then slowly watching him getting sicker and sicker and sicker, like I was like, whoa, like this is, so that I think subconsciously too, in some ways, that kind of motivated me to really focus on my health and fitness, and not just physical health, but also my mental health, making sure that mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like I'm focusing on all that stuff. But yeah.
No, that's much it must be rough, man. I had the same complex when it comes to my son. Like it's one of the things why I became an entrepreneur, right? And I couldn't see myself. Like, one thing about me, I am the same person inside my house, like I'm outside my house. There's no there's no difference. I don't know. It's the same person. If I'm a dick outside, I'm gonna be a dick inside. If I'm nice outside, I'm gonna be nice inside, right? And one of the things, like, it's now having a son and visualizing like, he come to see me one day at work and I'm getting talked down by my boss, and having that fear that I might get like diminish, and my son might look at me like you said, like you look at your dad as like he's just this great person. And as you saw him diminish little by little, same thing with me, but like another person, like, if I'm a boss in the house, I can't be boss outside. And me having that vision of him seeing me like that, I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy because you see me, I'm short as fuck.
Yeah.
It's like, going back to jujitsu, right? Like I'm constant. I don't know why, right? I'm constantly rolling with the bigger dudes, right? I don't know why, it just happens. And why, the bigger you are, the better. Because if I'm on the ground, you just put your weight on me. You really don't have to do anything.
Right.
And from giving 100%, I gotta get 120, 150, almost 200%. Just make something happen, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when it comes to my son, right? I have to give all that in, because I'd be damn if I'll get outworked or outshine, because I want to be that figure
Yeah.
in my son's life. But I'm just realizing sometimes I gotta take a step back, because maybe being always, the person shine is not the best. And I
Right.
questions, what example am I giving,
Yeah. Yeah, man, I totally get that. I think like, I don't have any kids, but I always envision like when I have kids, like the way you teach your kids is not by telling them, right? It's by being the example. Like whatever
Yeah.
you want them, like however you want them to live is the way you want to live your life.
Yeah.
So they see it. And kids don't listen to you, but they watch you. They see
Yes.
what you're doing and they're gonna follow that. They're gonna
Yes.
imitate that. So being that best version of yourself, being able to like be the positive energy, the inspiring person, just calm under pressure, no matter what happens. Daddy has it handled, like that kind of mentality and that kind of energy. It's just so contagious, and not just everywhere, like in any type of situation. Like a leadership quality is to be able to just be the guy who just, you could just tell this guy's gonna figure it out. Like if we're lost in some jungle or whatever in the mountains, it's like you trust this one guy who's like, we'll figure it out, guys. We'll get out of here. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah.
Even if they don't know, yeah. So that kind of like that level of confidence, and sometimes I feel that level of confidence, you can't fake it. It also comes from if you've been through struggles, if you've been through bad times, right? If you had to like crawl back out of like whatever fucked up shit that you've been
Yeah.
in,
It's
like just
hunger.
coming out of
Yeah.
it, right?
It's
Yeah.
it's hunger, is that, and that's, like I said, growing up in the environment I grew up, it's like there's a lot of pros and cons. Like I've struggled throughout the years with anger, you know.
Hmm.
Back then it was like I had to be this way. I had to show off because I had to survive,
Yeah.
right? And now I don't have to live like that. But you
Hmm.
guess what? After so many years, we have to survive like that. It's already embedded you. So
Hmm.
right now it's like I'm trying to de-escalate myself
Yeah.
and de-escalate it and find that middle ground,
Yeah.
because like I have to go back to jujitsu, like that physical shit, that the grappling, like that. I love that shit.
Yeah.
It's like literally giving me candy. Like
Yeah.
like I get like I've some I've times I've broken my lip and need me in the face, and just like my eyes pop, they pop up because I want more. It's like an addiction.
Oh, dude, I completely relate with you. Like, sometimes I feel like I'm a masochist in so many ways because I love pain. So it's like, give me more, right? Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah, and
yeah, but I also think like we become a soft society, right? It's like because we have so much, we have it
oh
easy,
man,
right?
yes,
It's like we've become such a soft society. And I think in life, you always want to have some kind of struggle You got to choose your struggle, but there's got to be a struggle that you're continuously like trying to get better, and like you get crushed at times and stuff like that. So I think people get too comfortable when they have like they're working some kind of job that's like, yeah, they're getting by. They just watch TV. They stay like they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So that's what I love sports and martial arts specifically, because martial arts, you're always going to be struggling. Even if you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you're probably going to go up against other black belts.
You're always going to have somebody better than you.
Yeah.
You're always going to have somebody tougher than you. You're always going to have somebody stronger than you.
Stronger than you. And it's not theory, it's practical. You're going to roll with them, and you're going to have to tap out, and you're like, oh shit, I'm not the man or whatever. Like, it humbles you, right?
But that's the for me, right, in my opinion, that's the most beautiful part. Mm-hmm. You walk in, today's could be your day, but tomorrow not.
Right.
And but that's life.
Right. That's life. What I was gonna say. Like, jiu-jitsu feels like life, right? Because some days you feel great. Like, maybe you tapped out a couple, people, and your cardio felt better, and like you ended the class and you're like, oh, I feel good. Like, I'm on top of the world today. Yeah. And the next day you come and you get crushed.
Yes.
Like, holy shit, I feel worse. And it's like, that's how life is. Some days you feel you're like top of the world, and some days you're just like down and out.
And that's life. Yeah. But it's how you continue to move forward that defines who you are, and that's that's the beautiful part. What do you think about, like, I have a highly I can't even say it. That's how much I've said it. Like, when it comes to society being so sensitive.
Man, first of all, I hate the PC culture in our society, and I hate like how soft everything has become, right? So let's just say if I said something that offended you, but if it wasn't like completely out of line, I just made a joke or whatever and offended you, right? Maybe the problem is not me, maybe it's you. And what I mean by that is, why are you getting offended about little things, right? Why are you so sensitive? Maybe it's time that you do some self-reflection and like see what's going on there.
Yeah,
and
have some thick skin.
Exactly. And I think what's happening in our society today is that, oh, you cannot say this, like this is not PC, and you can't say this, you can't, all that stuff. And people are like, okay, it's like we're giving them a free pass. Like, oh yeah, you could be soft, like no problem. Oh, we'll make you even softer. So, I don't like it, man. And also the thing with being sensitive is that the word has lost its meaning. Like, being sensitive just means to be able to like feel things strongly, right? So it could be anything, like even the ability to feel love strongly, or to feel compassion or whatever, like just to feel strongly. It doesn't mean if someone said a joke or whatever, like you get offended. That's not what it means.
You know what? People are so nowadays, like this generation, right? Like the more it's like the more people are sensitive, the more opinion you have on certain things. Mm-hmm. And like, that bothers me. That bothers me. Like, you want to trigger me, just be one of those person, because like, how can you have, like, first of all, right? So life is about views, right? Like, I'm doing the best way to explain what I'm trying to describe, right? So it's about views, right? You have a square, and it's a 3D square, right? So this is one view. This is another view. Mm-hmm. So if I'm being nice to you, right? Mm-hmm. There's another view that's showing that I'm not being nice to you. I'm being a dick to you. Mm-hmm. And there's another view showing that I'm being, angry to you. Mm-hmm. So what this view is showing one thing, meaning our eyes are seeing one thing, another person is seeing another thing, right? Mm-hmm. Being that said, people are so sensitive that they have the liberty on opinion on anything, but yet they have no life experience. They have not reached a climax and point of their life.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I see these kids that constantly complain about capitalism and the government and all this bullshit. And I've always tried to play devil advocate. I could be wrong on certain things, because I I'm not always right. So,
Right.
I look at like the government, like we're their children and their parents. Like if you're a parent and you have kids, right? And also if you become a billionaire, right? And you had to fucking scrape, fight, blood, sweat, and tears to get that money. You think you're gonna give it away just like that?
No.
My point exactly.
Right. So I completely agree about the fact that people have opinion about things that they have no clue about, right? So let's say even like, for example, you said like people who would talk down about capitalism, like, oh, capitalism is the worst, blah, blah, right? Well, do you have a better alternative? Like, what is, like, don't talk about problems. Give me a good solution. Like, can we talk about solutions?
Yeah.
Right. So it's easy to complain, right?
Oh,
like,
man, and that's the bigger
Right.
problem. I don't think people complaining about capitalism wouldn't be a problem if they were bringing up valid solutions.
Right. Bring a valid solution, right? Is capitalism perfect? No, but what is perfect? Nothing. Communism has been tried. It failed miserably. Sounds great in theory, but fails miserably. Socialism in certain societies, maybe if it's a small country, you can try something like that. As the country gets bigger, there's more people. Only thing that's succeeded, not perfect at all, but has succeeded over the years has been capitalism, right? Now, it has a lot of flaws. Don't get me wrong. I'm in marketing. I know how the marketing world works and how we entice people into buying shit that they don't need. And like, all this stuff, I get all that stuff. And, there's got to be more regulations from like government has to put in like, stuff. But the point is like, first of all, we don't even know what it's like to be in the president's shoes. Like the amount of pressure he has or amount of stuff that he has to deal with and like what's going on behind the scenes. Like you and I, we don't know what it's like to be up there. Okay. We can pretend like, oh yeah, if I was the president, man, I would do this, this, this. It's like, no, like you don't know what's like to be there. Right. So that's like having strong opinion could be good, especially if you have some knowledge and experience. But if you don't have anything, like even for example, like I'm a huge fan of UFC, right? I love watching fights. So I'll watch, let's just say, Conor McGregor, let's say he's fighting this guy named Dustin Poirier. They're like top fighters, And when they fight, let's say you get a casual fan, be like, you know what, man, I think you should have punched instead of kicked. Or he should have, taken him to the ground. It's like, wait, bro, do you even like fight? Do you even know what that is to be in the octagon, right? So it's like people just want to give opinions about things that they have no clue about.
No, or not even, they're not in their shoes. It's like we're in I'm in Jersey City, right? We're in Jersey City, right? So there's a part of Jersey City that I can't remember the proper name of it. It's basically something that they're pushing people out to, new people coming and develop, right? I can't remember the name for the life of me. But
it's not Bergen Lafayette, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a name for it. Okay. But basically they're pushing people out so new people come in. Right. And I'm always saying, right, and like I've said many of times, I'm open to be wrong for as long as somebody educates me respectfully. Because a lot of people, when you're wrong, they try to go on Twitter or any social media and just blow your shit up, and they're not even helping you understand it. They're just bashing you, right?
Yeah.
So they're complaining about they're kicking the people from here out. And my question is always this: but what have you done to protect, care, provide for where you are? Like I understand some people can, some people can't because whatever, etc. But what's happening with the people that can't?
Right.
You go to Jersey City, Martin Luther King Street. It's dirty as fuck. There's a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of crackheads, drug dealers. You know, it's horrible.
Yeah.
What makes it even more fucked up is that the street is called Martin Luther King, and then
Yeah.
an iconic individual who said,
Yeah.
"I have a dream," which for
Right.
people to progress,
Yeah.
and that street is shitty.
Yeah.
So my question is, you're complaining about they're kicking you out, they're moving you out, as it I think it's gentrification, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
But what have you done for your community?
Mm-hmm.
What have you got to be, as tired and exhausted you have to be involved in your community, freaking better,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
pandemic passed.
Mm-hmm.
I started this podcast because I wanted to help my community.
Right.
I wanted to connect to small businesses and give them a spotlight where they could come and talk about their business, their hope and dreams, or whatever, etc. That
Mm-hmm.
has it slowly evolved to something else. Yeah, I'm grateful.
Right.
That was never the goal. But
Yeah.
here's the truth about that is that I presenting you an opportunity and you don't capitalize on it.
Yeah.
You don't take initiative on it, and you sit there
Right.
and blame everybody else but yourself.
Yeah.
I take that serious because I hold that to a certain degree to myself.
Right. It's a victim mentality, right?
Yeah.
It's that I'm a victim, I'm a victim. So it's interesting because I've always thought about that and kind of like gentrification that happens, and also like people who live in poor neighborhoods, they eventually get kicked out because they want to like build high-rise buildings and all that stuff, right? And part of it is like, look, I'm a minority, like just like I'm Indian, so like when I was growing up, like I grew up around a lot of like Hispanics and Black people, right? Just like growing up in Jersey City back in like the '90s and stuff, and like I've seen some of the struggles because my family had to come here and struggle, and I've seen like people struggle and stuff here, and a lot of this is also generational too. So like even if you look within the Black community, like there's been so many things that has happened over the past 100 years, and even if you go back like few hundred years, so there is that trauma to an extent. And what I think is missing within some of these communities also is a role model, right? Like we need a role model who can inspire and like move those people forward. And every kind of like whatever communities, any community that's not doing like is not being prosperous and stuff. And I think that's like one thing that's missing is having the role models and seeing people that can really inspire you
Yeah,
and motivate you.
I think I agree with you 100%. But here's the thing with that: that any role model that wants to step up and be that person, that iconic person, to uplift uh, the people, it's simple. People gravitate more to something ignorant than actual something positive.
Mm-hmm.
So for that individual to develop whatever he's trying to do, it's not going to have an overnight. I can't even talk. It's not going to have it overnight. It's something that's continuously going to develop throughout time.
Exactly. It's going to take a long time because it didn't happen in a snap of a finger, right? It also took a long time for the situation to get worse. So it's going to take a long time for the situation to get better. But the way things get better, let's just say, even if someone who comes from let's say a poor background, let's say like my mom and dad, when they first came here, they had no, real like education. They didn't speak English, all that stuff. And they were like, my mom was working 3 jobs while she dropped us off to school and, all that kind of stuff. And they had to kind of phase out their generation. And then we were like the newer generation. So we're going to be slightly better because, maybe we got better opportunities and stuff like that. And then my kids are probably going to be much better. So it is a generational thing. And I think that even like if like people don't connect with positivity, like you said, not many people, some people do. But let's say in a place where there's like 100 people, there might be 5 people that connect with you or anyone who's providing inspiration. Then they become this catalyst where they have kids and they inspire them and their kids inspire. And it has to be a generational thing. So yeah, the change is not going to happen
overnight. Definitely.
Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight. And it's not even going to happen in like 10 years. Sometimes it might be 50 years. it has to be a generational thing.
Yeah, and I agree. It just, it sucks because we need that person.
Yeah, not
And
just
we
one
need,
person. We just need
yeah,
many people like that.
yeah, and we needed them like yesterday,
Right. Yeah.
and but like, one thing that, time never lies. Time will tell you, you know, if things are meant to be or not. Um, but people do have to get up and do something,
For sure.
either
Yeah.
for the community or for
Yeah.
themselves.
Right.
You can, continue to be on food stamps, and I've had to go through this, many of times, and that's why, I'm driven. You could
Yeah.
go get food stamps, you could go to that office and be humiliated.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I went once with my wife. I think she was pregnant, and there was, it was a lady with a brand new iPhone, some Jordans, some fucking long ass nails, and yelling at the administrator, whoever the fuck was there, and she got help. There was this other mom that had she had one Down syndrome kid and two other kids that were small, and they were asking for help because they needed nights a night to stay. The baby with Down syndrome, took off her diaper and just peed on the floor right there and then, and they didn't get help.
Yeah.
There was another mother that you can clearly tell she had postpartum depression for years now, and she was young, and the kid was running around just being a kid, but you could tell she was exhausted for years now, didn't get no help. You go to these places and you ask for help because that's why they're there, and you get humiliated, you get degraded. And unfortunately, it's like anything in life. People that need it don't get it. People that don't need it
don't need it.
and
Get
this
it.
and that's
Yeah.
just life.
Right. Yeah.
But you have to do something for yourself. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you need to get out of it, and it's really hard too. Like I could understand like how hard it is to get out of it, because basically there's in general in life, like there's like upward, like it's like a spiral, right? You spiral down or you spiral up.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do something, and let's just say even if you go to jiu-jitsu and you had a great day, you feel good about yourself, and then maybe you eat a healthy meal because you felt good about yourself, and the next day you woke up early and you put in that extra kind of time and focus at your work, so you're going up and up and up, right? Whereas the reverse can happen, where let's say someone went to food stamp and they didn't get the respect or they were humiliated and they feel really bad about themselves, and because they feel bad about themselves, they go eat like a shitty food, maybe like
makes you feel
big
worse.
milkshake, makes you feel worse, right? Now you're feeling even worse. You didn't get a good night's sleep. The next day you wake up, you feel really shitty. Then you go to work, you're not performing well, and you just keep going down and down and down. And the only way is like you got to stop and start crawling back up a little bit, and then a little bit, and then a little bit. And it's really hard to do, man. Like sometimes, it's like all this getting, like when you're really down, like in life, like getting back up is not easy, but it needs to be done. Someone has to do it, right? You can't, like, because living in that state is worse than you struggling and like trying to get back on top, or get out of that. So
I had this guy, his name was Tony Velez. He's ironically, he was Puerto Rican, right? I used to work security like for years, like almost 10 years, work my up the ladder. Once I got my wife, I wasn't going nowhere, so I started something new. It didn't work out, and I ended up becoming a porter and cleaning toilets, right? And I met this guy. He was Puerto Rican. He was the maintenance manager at the senior living, and he told me, for as long as you're doing something, you're gonna be all right. And because at that time I was like, fuck, I was stuck. I didn't know what I've been doing security, you know, all my, you know, majority of my adulthood. I started, I went cleaning toilets. I had a Nigerian supervisor who used to tell me Puerto Ricans ain't shit, right? Uh, shit. He was that he if we were in slave times, he was that guy who lived inside the house with the master, right? He did nothing to help anybody. He was out for himself. And you know what? I respected that. But every chance he had, he would put you down. So it was just a very awful, life-changing it was just awful, right? So Tony would see what I was going through. And he was telling me it was fucked up, but he can't do nothing about it. The only person who could do something, it's me. So he told me, for as long as you're doing something, you're gonna be okay. And I rolled, I rolled with that, bro. And today I'm here. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the fuck you're doing, as long as you're doing something.
Yeah.
You're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to preach on to everybody else. You gotta do something, because sometimes sitting down, procrastinating, letting depression and life get at you, you're not gonna go nowhere, man.
No. And if you're stagnating, you're just gonna keep going down, right? Like I was talking about the spiral, is that you have to do something to get out of the rut. Even in jujitsu, when you're like at the bottom, and you just don't do anything, then the other guy's gonna find a way to submit you, right?
Yeah.
But just even if you're just pushing his hands, and
just give him a fight. Give him a fight.
Just do something, right? Even if you do get submitted, it's not gonna be as quick. Like it'll still take time. Just give it a fight, right? So in life, even if you don't succeed, because not everyone's gonna succeed, but just give it a really good fight. And then when you go out, you say, you know what? I give it a fight.
Yeah. And you'll be more content and happy going out and says, at least I did something.
Yeah.
It's like, I tell people who talk, approach me on the podcast.
Yeah.
And because people like to give me a lot of opinion. Right? My response is, what's your podcast? What have you done lately? Right?
Yeah.
And like, I don't, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, does it. At least I did something.
Right.
At least I got out of my comfort zone and try something new.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at life sometimes. Just do something.
Exactly. I heard this quote one time, like years ago, that really stood out for me, is because I'm kind of like a perfectionist in general. So I'm always trying to do, like, even like I used to do YouTube videos and stuff back in the days, and I was my own worst critic. And I remember reading this, that it's better to be done than to be good. And that really stuck with me. It's like, it doesn't have to be good. It just needs to get done. Like, however it gets done.
Yeah. It's like like when it came to the podcast, there was years in the making, right?
Yeah.
Years of buying shit I didn't need, money I didn't have, right? And looking for this type of perfection.
Mm-hmm.
But one day I realized, like, what is perfection if I've never done it? I've never created it.
Yeah.
I never even started it. So why have I wasted all, majority 3-4 years on this idea of perfection? But I don't even know what it is. I don't.
It doesn't even exist, though. That's the thing, right? That's why you don't know.
Yeah. So, one day on January of 2020, I just said, fuck it. So hey, come on my podcast. So I recorded on Zoom, and boom, and we're here now.
Yeah.
We're 28 with this. I think we're 28 episodes deep.
Wow. Yeah. Sometimes you just need that momentum, man. You just like, it's like a snowball effect. Like you just go and then you keep going and, things just start working out.
I call it the fuck it method.
Yeah.
Because
Keep
sometimes
fucking
yeah,
up,
fuck it. Just
Yeah.
fucking do it.
Right. It's fucking, yeah. Just do it. Just, what's the worst that's going to happen, right? You just do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
But,
you mentioned earlier you went to Tony, what's his name?
Robin.
Robinson's seminar. How was that
Yeah.
experience, man? Because that gets crazy over there.
Yeah. So, just a little kind of like, my background in personal development and stuff is, when I was like 21, 22, I was dating this girl. She was a few years older than me. She's like 25, I think, at the time. And she was really into spirituality. So she was like a yoga teacher and like teaching meditation and a lot of that stuff. And she would like, tell me sometimes, she's like, Sunny, I feel like some of your energies are blocked. Like you can't really express yourself. And like, you can't really be emotional and stuff. Like she would try to say it in a nice way, but I still was kind of getting offended. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what? Like what? But she's like, so she would tell me about like all the stuff. Like you have this chakras, like energy centers, and then you have this root chakra that you can open up and they just become stuff, right? And at the time, I was like, yo, like you're crazy. Like I don't know what you're talking about, but she told me that, hey, why don't you like start looking into like meditation and stuff? Because I was also like very hyperactive at the time. So it's like if you start meditating, it just like, calm down and then you become more aware of your emotions and feelings and stuff like that. So long story short, she ended up moving to San Francisco. Back in the days, when like it was one of those hippie spots where like a lot of people would go for yoga and meditation and stuff. And one thing I did have going for myself, even in those years, even when I was younger, is I always had an open mind. Like I was like, I'll try anything, right? If I feel like, oh, that might help me or whatever, I'll try it, even if it sounds stupid to me. So I remember asking her, we were still in touch, and I was like, hey, what is that meditation thing you told me about? And she said, well, if you really want to dive deep into this, there's this 10-day silent meditation course that you could actually go to. And like they teach you and all that stuff, right? And it's a really great way to kind of like really go within yourself and like understand yourself and all that stuff. So, I was kind of like an extreme guy. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. You know what? I've never fucking meditated my entire life, but I'm going to do this 10-day thing. I'm going to go, straight dive in there. So I signed up for like this course, which is, a silent meditation. It's become really popular over the years now. I went there back in like 2007, 2008. So a long time ago. At the time when I went there, like no one, like most people didn't even know what meditation was. But I ended up going to this 10-day course where basically you check in all your cell phones and everything. Like you're literally with yourself, by yourself for 10 days. You don't talk to anyone. You cannot read a book. You cannot do anything. You just have to be, because we're not human doing, we're human beings. So learn how to be. So like literally just being by myself. And like the first 3 or 4 days was so brutal, man. Like I wanted to run away. And I thought many times like, oh, my car's right there. I'm just gonna hop off the fence and I'm out of here. But I was like, no, I can't do that. Like I committed to this. Like I gotta stick around. I gotta push through. So anyways, long story short, like day 8 or day 9, one of those days, like after my meditation session, I was kind of walking, and like this was in like it was in Massachusetts. There's a place called Shelburne. So it's like kind of in the woods and stuff. I was walking around, and I don't want to make it sound like it was very profound or anything, but I did have this experience of just feeling like super calm and also just connected to things and just feeling like everything was perfect in the world. And like just the trees look brighter. And, I've never actually done psychedelic drugs, but I guess like when you do LSD or whatever,
yeah,
you feel the brightness and stuff. So I had that just for a moment. It didn't last very long, but that was just like, I guess, this thing that I just needed to be like, whoa, dude, what the fuck is that? Like, I need to explore this more. So then when I got back home, I really started reading a lot of books on like spirituality and personal development. And that's how I came across like Tony Robbins. I read one of his books called Awaken the Giant Within. And I really connected with him just because he was also a very kind of out there, kind of, very energetic kind of guy, and just like had a big presence. So I like that. I was able to connect with that at the time. I didn't connect with people that were very passive and soft, right? So if someone was like, you need to just meditate, I couldn't connect with it. I'm like, yo, like, you gotta have some fucking energy. Like, so then, that was back in the days. I think I can connect with people like that more now. But so that's when after a few years, I actually ended up going to a seminar at the time, which is, you also actually do, fire walking. So it happens where you actually walk on fire. That
Yeah.
was a really awesome experience, man.
Shit.
So basically, they lay down like all this hot coals and they prime you. So it's like you're in a great state of mind and you just walk straight through the fire. The key to that, and I've done like other kind of stuff as well. Like even in, how in some martial arts like karate and stuff, you break board, right? So you got to break this board. So the key to all that stuff is like zero hesitation. Because if you hesitate,
And just
you're
do
gonna
it.
burn yourself. You just walk and just go straight through.
Like a night commercial. Just do it.
You just do it, yeah. Even like when you're breaking the board, right? Like the way you break the board is like you want to like break through the board and you just like momentum and then go. Like if you hesitate for a second, it's not gonna break. So that fire walking was a great experience. Like just like really being amped up and just being able to do that just gave confidence. Like whoa, like if I can walk on fire, I can do anything. So that was
And
like
that's kind of a little drastic. You have to walk on fire to realize you could do anything.
yeah, man. Sometimes that's what it takes,
Yeah. I mean, I tell my wife all the time, Trump was president, so anything could fucking happen.
Anything could happen.
You
Exactly.
just take that as inspiration.
But it's funny because like you could tell someone like just be confident, but it's like wait, what? Like how do you want me
Yeah,
to be
man. A
confident,
lot of
right?
people
So
doubt
it's like
themselves.
yeah, but it's like I don't like platitudes. Like I don't like saying things that are true, but it's like how do you do it? Like let's say if someone is not used to being themselves and they've spent most of their life being fake and stuff like that for various reasons, and if you tell them like, hey man, just be yourself, it's like okay, cool, man. I heard that, but I don't know how to do that, right? It's like you still have to like have shifts in your brain to be able to actually do that, like to be able to like have confidence or to like do certain things. That mental shift needs to happen, and it could happen many different ways. Sometimes maybe walking on fire can give you that shift. Maybe like
Yeah. Something needs to
having
connect
something needs
or
to connect.
click, a moment.
Exactly, yeah. So that was one, like the first seminar I went to, and then the other one that I was telling you about was a recent one that I went to like a couple of years ago. But I would say it's definitely great in terms of like being able to um, be introspective about like taking a pause from your everyday life, and you're in an environment where everyone is doing the same thing. Like everyone is learning about themselves and like really understanding the motive of like who they are, what they want out of life. Like how many people even sit down to think about like what do I want to accomplish in life? Like what do I want out of life? What is my life? You know, I want my life to look like, right? Whether 5 years, 10 years from now, or just overall, like what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? So most people never think about those things. So it's like being able to like go somewhere and think about those things and do different exercises and stuff like that. And I think the other great thing coming out of going to a seminar like that is the people that you meet, because you meet a lot of great people, people who are like-minded, people who also have accomplished a lot of things in life, but also, like see things differently and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, like I definitely had a great experience.
That's dope, man. That's really
Yeah,
dope.
yeah. And I think like for a long time, I was also on like this quest of like meeting like-minded people too, right? Because like I said, like I couldn't connect with a lot of people in general just because, I just the way like my brain works and my thought patterns and everything, my mentality is very different from like, a lot of people. So like when I was back in those days when I used to go to like different retreats and seminars, I would meet a lot of people, and some of them have become my lifelong friends. Like some of my closest friends now, I've met them at like different events and stuff.
That's dope, man. Are you one of these people that can like sit back? Like, let's say you're in a room of full people, right? And you can sit back and just stay quiet to yourself, but just observe, and just by looking around, you can learn so much about people.
Yeah, I am that way now, I would say. If this was like maybe when I was younger, I would say that I felt the pressure that I had to talk or I had to like interact because, I don't want to be that guy that isn't like, being social. But I feel like now I'm just so comfortable within my skin and like, who I am and stuff. I'm not perfect, but just like to
Yeah,
a point
definitely.
where I could still be like, all right, cool. I'm just like observing and just like chilling and like just being comfortable and just like looking at people and analyzing things. I'm not consciously trying to do that, but just subconsciously, like, I'm able to do that. Yeah.
I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
dope, man. Tell the people where they can find you at.
Yeah. So, I don't really have any kind of, anything to promote necessarily. Just, you can find me on my Instagram, which, you can probably link it, in your
Yeah,
podcast. So that way, yeah, people can see, kind of my journey as I go through, my journey of
yeah,
like,
because you got some dope stuff there. You got almost like a video blog on your Instagram showing, you know, before we go, tell me about that experience. That's something I want to know. Like,
what it,
so like you have certain like certain pictures of like the camera saying you're talking, you're in certain locations.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So what happened is, when I was traveling a lot, I wanted to like I don't really take a lot of photos. I've never been like a photo kind of guy. So I wanted to capture moments and like it's like, oh, I go to all these places and I don't have any memories. I don't do anything. So that was one thought. And then the second thought is I always wanted to also talk about a lot of philosophical stuff, like how I see things and
Hmm.
how like my opinions about stuff.
The thought
So I always
process
thought
and
about
share it.
exactly. So I also wanted to like have a YouTube channel and like record videos and stuff. So I connected the dot. I'm like, what better than actually while I'm traveling, like, take out a camera and like shoot like me talking about certain things, right? Whatever is in my mind in the moment.
Yeah,
It's also
yeah.
like being in the moment and talking about like, hey, I'm like wherever and this is what I was thinking about and blah blah blah, right? Instead of like having scripted stuff to talk about. So I procrastinated for a while, like for a couple of years. Like I had all the travels and stuff, and at one point I even had a camera, but the battery died, and I was like
Hmm.
too tired a lot of times and too lazy to like go find the store and like all that stuff, right? But then finally, I was like, I just need to do it. So finally, I did start recording some of these videos, and then just talking about like whatever I was feeling and whatever was
Do
in
you
my
do you
mind at
still
the
have
moment.
the YouTube page? Your
I
YouTube
st-
channel?
I still have the page. Some of the videos are still there, but I haven't really recorded a video in maybe 3 years or so. So I have older videos still there.
Dude, I think you should try, because I know life is busy. Just try to do, get back on that, man. I think you're such an inspiration person. You have so much knowledge to share with the world, man. Dude, we need more people like you just to share the knowledge and enjoy it, not because you're trying to be better than anybody or no more. Just be you, because you as a person, you're an awesome person, bro. And you're sharing that knowledge that helps somebody that may need it, that may, yeah, you tell them now, it doesn't affect them now, but in the long run it can help them out. I think you should really go for it, bro.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that, man. And yeah, I feel like I've been thinking about like, oh, I should get back into it and start recording some videos, even if it's like just from my apartment where I just start shooting some videos and stuff. But I've
Yeah,
been
especially
procrastinating, so maybe
yeah, especially now after, what is this, like after COVID, right? Like a lot
yeah,
of people, there's a lot of amazing people that are going to come out of this experience of COVID, and you could be
mhm,
one of them. And you know through this pandemic, and I could speak for myself. I'm sure we've had the same experience. Yes, we have. Like, I've learned a lot about myself. and sometimes, having a picture or recording a video, you need raw, like you said earlier, raw shit to be out there. It's not satisfying. Just write it down or write it in a book. I need visualization. Somebody speak from the heart and tell their story.
Yeah.
We need that shit. We're going now in a different direction when the world politics, things after this experience, things are changing.
Yeah.
And we need more. We need more people like yourself that is going to lift and not be afraid of share a positive word and say you can do it. And I can't. We just need that. It's very important for us right now. And
Yeah.
just get
Yeah.
back to it, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And maybe this conversation gets me back into it. So,
Yeah, man. Just I
yeah,
see it. Here's the thing, right? We're like this. We're so full of fucking influencers, but nobody's fucking making no change or influencing
yeah,
shit. They're,
yeah,
yeah. Here's an ad for something. I'm getting fucking
yeah,
50,000 for it. They're not doing
yeah.
anything.
Right, right.
They're focused on fashion,
Hmm.
entertainment. Like
Right.
now, you look at journalism, right?
Hmm.
People say journalism it's dying. It is not that it's dead. Is people is scared of journalism because it's real.
Hmm.
That they're stuck on wanna seeing entertainment, which is Kardashian,
Yeah.
e-news, fashion. But journalism, it's raw. It's what's
Right,
happening in the Middle East. It's what's happening in
right,
Japan or North
right,
Korea, South Korea. It's telling you shit's happening. People are dying,
right, right.
right? And because people don't
Yeah.
want to see that shit because they're scared.
Right,
They're
right.
scared.
It also bursts their bubble, right? Like you want to
Mhm.
live in this fairy tale world, but it's not. Like there's a lot of fucked up shit that's happening around the
Yeah.
world. There's also a lot of great things that's happening around the world, but you need someone on the ground to report that kind of stuff,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Um, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, man. And also, I think it's like the attention span that we're losing now, where people cannot sit down and listen to a podcast or watch a video for an hour or 2 hours. I think it's ridiculous, right? That's why things like TikTok's becoming so popular because you have. I don't even use TikTok, so I don't even know what is like 10-second videos or whatever, like 15
Did
second videos.
did you ever hear a QB?
Oh,
Dude, it's not they haven't been promoted lately, but like in a couple of like when the pandemic started, everything was like QB, which is like Netflix before these short movies. So you will get like let's say 5 minutes of one short. Then you could the concept was you watch 5 minutes now, then you watch 5 minutes later, and 5 minutes later, and it's all in increments. So it's like I can watch a QB real quick, watch something real quick, and keep it moving. And like you
wow.
said, it's affecting your attention span.
Attention span. Yeah, yeah. Wow, man. That's so crazy. And that's why I actually really like that you have a long form podcast, right? Which is great. Like even when I listen to podcasts, I like listening to a 2 hour podcast or a 3 hour
I just
podcast.
let it. I just let it.
Just,
Like if it's a video, I put it in
right,
the background and put the volume up and just let it
right.
flow
Just
as
let it
I'm
run.
doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Because also, like, to really understand a point or to get to know someone, you can't do that in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Like, you need hours to like unpack stuff, right? And yeah, man, honestly, man, like, the society that we're becoming and where we're moving and stuff like that sometimes scares me, in a way, just because it's like, what is happening? When I see kids nowadays, like I have nieces and nephew, and I see them glued to the screen, like their iPads and all that stuff. And I'm like, when I was a little kid, I used to be outside playing basketball, whatever, and like I
Yeah,
see them.
man.
It's like, what's going on in the world? What is this generation's going to become? Like, what is the next generation's going to look like? But I also,
And what's crazy is not to cut you off, what's crazy is that they'll see other growing up, they'll see other kids
right,
that are not glued to their phones or a tablet and doing
right,
what a regular kid was supposed to do. They'll be judgmental to that kid.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm also hopeful that also the fact that we have internet and social media and stuff. Yes, there's a ton of bullshit out there, like all these influencers and all that stuff, man. That
Too much traffic.
really pisses me off. But there's also some good content out there, right? There's also like great people that have a voice now and they can talk about their things. So I think that would ignite a fire in some ways. And I think there's going to be, bigger shifts that's going to happen in the next 10 or 20 years.
My only question is like, how do you find that, right? Because for like you said, to find these people who are actually doing something, dude, you gotta search the web. Like now, everybody has a blog. It used to be actually websites. Now everybody got a blog. Right. So you go to these blogs in which majority of them are not they're not functioning information, they're opinions. It's your opinion on a certain topic. Like example, you go to self-help, personal development. There's a shitload of fucking articles, but they're not factual articles. It's just people telling their experience, and that's nothing wrong. But it's so difficult to divide it to see what is what it is.
Right.
It's so much traffic.
Right, because there's so much fake information out there. It's like, how do you decipher between what's real and what's fake?
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, it is hard. It's hard. Sometimes you got to go through a pile of garbage to find something that's valuable or meaningful. So yeah, I mean,
it's like perfect example. Perfect. I don't mean to cut you off, but like perfect example, right? How many times have you gone like on Netflix and spend like 20 minutes scrolling to find something to watch?
Yeah,
it's so much shit. It's so much shit you don't know.
There's so much Yeah, which is not always a good thing, because there's a thing called paradox of choice, right? When you have so much choices, then that's where dating is such a big problem nowadays, because there's like all this options, right? It's like you have dating apps and all that stuff. Like let's just say, for example, back in the days, like if you went to a neighborhood cafe, right, and they had like just coffee, like you just go and say, you probably know the barista or whatever, like, hey Susie, can I get a cup of coffee? Sure, right, no problem. So you just very decisive. You know what you're getting. Now you walk into like Starbucks or whatever, and you see mocha, latte, and cappuccino, and you're like, should I get cappuccino? Well, maybe I'll try latte. Should I? And it's like
you go to my daughter says I'm an old man, because you go to Starbucks and you're like, can I have a like, for me it's either small, medium, large, or extra large, right? Like have a grande or some other shit, like a medium. I want a medium. A grande, a medium. I want a medium. I want a large. There's no. You don't need to. It's all the same shit. You don't need to make a new language. It's medium. Give me a medium.
Right. Exactly.
And the same thing.
Right? Yeah. It's all branding and like it's just marketing. It's like we want to be unique, so we're gonna have unique names for everything.
Yeah, and it's basically the same shit, but you start something and you try to make it different, and the language, the more you try to simplify it, you're really making it more difficult. And just because you're trying to be transcendent, but you're really not.
Right.
You're just fucking like, it's like the language now, everything is short, like LOL, laughing out loud, like everything has become a text message. But in language, like it says, totally not tell.
Yeah, I agree, man. I definitely agree. I know where my headphones about to die.
I got a boogie.
I did wanted to.
Yeah,
there's a couple of things I did wanted to kind of just like quickly touch on, because it's like close to my heart and stuff. But I think in terms of like motivation and inspiration and all that stuff. The more I've kind of gone into like learning and reading and going to seminars and events and stuff, the more I've realized over the years that true inspiration is only found within yourself. And even if you look at the word inspiration, it means inspiration. It means to be in spirit, to connect it to your spirit, right? So it's not like, Tony Robbins is going to inspire you, or this book's going to inspire you, or David Goggins going to inspire you. Yeah, you could get a kick of motivation or whatever. But if you want to find that true inspiration, then you have to find it within yourself. You have to connect with that. And that would be something that's going to be everlasting. And, you don't need the kick of motivation from different people. You don't need to depend on someone or something or a book or whatever to get motivation. So ultimately, like, you want to be able to find it within yourself. And then last thing is, like, one of my favorite quotes that I try to live by is this quote. It comes from like an ancient spiritual text. It goes like this: it's better to live your own life imperfectly than to imitate someone else's life perfectly. And I love that quote because it's like, I want to live my life the way I want to live my life, even if I fuck up and I'm a total failure. And, when I die, people are like, oh, he fucked up, whatever. But I still did it my way. I want to do it my way. Okay, right or wrong.
Yeah.
Rather than like doing what society expects of me, rather than doing, what seems perfect. Like, oh, this is what success looks like. I'm going to be successful and I'm going to climb the ladder or whatever. Like, I don't want to do it that way. I'm going to do it my way. And even if I fail, that's fine. Even if it's imperfect, that's fine. But I'm going to live my life. And yeah, and I think everyone should aspire to, share their uniqueness, because we're all unique. We're all special in our own way. Like, no one has ever existed like you, Dio. Like, just like, exactly like you, the way you speak, the way you think, the way you process things, everything. There hasn't been another Dio in existence before you, and there's never going to be another Dio in existence after you. And same thing for everyone, right? So we're all unique. We are, whether we know it or not. And being able to share that uniqueness about how we think, how we feel, what inspires us, what motivates us, like being able to share that unapologetically and being yourself, that's beauty. And I think, you cannot truly be happy unless you can completely, truly express yourself.
Dude, that's fucking beautiful. I'm gonna use this. Dude, that's you just fucking blew my mind. See, this is why you gotta get back on your video blogs and shit like that, man, because we need more of this. We need more Sunny. We need more people saying those beautiful words you just said. We need more of this, man. I hope this has been a great experience for you, man. I hope this conversation we've had in this past, hours and a couple of minutes, you help you to say, fuck, I'm gonna do this again. And just we need more of that. I can't stress that enough, and I maybe sound repetitive, but we need more of that. We live in a world that we lack it. It's so, I keep saying it. I've said it throughout the years. I said it throughout the podcast. This one and other ones, that it's so easy to belittle somebody and say you can't do it. But it's so difficult to say believe in yourself and you can do it. And to hear these such amazing, beautiful words you just said, you have to actually have to pay for that. You got to go to a Tony Robbins, right? Or to any other motivation speaker and pay for that. But yeah, there's people like you, people like myself, have it here for free, and people are not capitalizing on that. It's because we don't have enough, and we need more of that. So, thank you for your beautiful words. Thank you for joining me. It's truly been an honor and a pleasure to have you here, and I can only hope we can do this again.
I appreciate it, brother. I really appreciate it. And I think you're doing a great work out there, man.
Thank you.
Just, putting out all this kind of, motivation, inspiration, and just like light and hope for people. That is a beautiful thing. And, like you said, like we need it and we need more of this. So, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Great. So I appreciate that, brother. And, this has been great. I just love having conversations like this. And yeah, we should definitely do it again soon, whenever. Man. Yeah, whenever.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for all my listeners, all my viewers. I'm out. Have a good night, guys.
Great. Thanks, guys.